folks. This is the Not-So-Live live stream 23 that we're having. We're currently experiencing some internet technical difficulties. We're not sure if it's because of how hot it is or because of how many tourists are currently in Asheville, but our internet is not going great. We have definitely some people who are interested in checking out the live stream, but unfortunately they can't until our internet catches up with us. So we're going to keep on trying to work that on our end, and if we go back live, we will definitely hopefully say hi to the chat. If not, we're going to soldier on with our format and just upload it because we are now recording.
Yep. I'm gonna make a post about that, and I'm here.
Awesome. Well, we'll let you guys know, and you can kind of watch it later after we post it. So we're gonna just kind of rewind some things that we've already said before, but I'm gonna go ahead and get that package reset. All right. So we've had. Most recently, we just had our kids event at Alliance Crossroads. It is the first kids event that we ran on the Tennessee site, and I just wanted to share with you guys a little bit of history, yet again, that this is a photo of the very first kids event on the Otisville Crossroads site. That's New York Crossroads. This is circa 2011. And the cool thing about this kids event is that a lot of these kiddos, there's one there, and I think there's a couple around, and I know that these two people end up having one that ended up at a little kids event a little bit later. So yeah, a bunch of these kids still play, and that was 2011. And this is this year. This was this weekend up in Alliance Crossroads area, and we had one heck of a good time playing with the kiddos at Crossroads. I had a blast. We really had some interesting and memorable interactions. I mean, this is just a gorgeous photo of our wonderful India playing one of the protagonists of the weekend. India, what did you take away from the kids event?
Kids are scary. Kids are scary. They are bundles of unending energy that I could not keep up with. And it's also it's refreshing to see how just willing they are to do pretty much any story that you throw at them. I mean, you know, it's always fun to hit things with a stick too, but it was a little bit of a fight for me sometimes to like get the kids to realize that like I'm role playing with them. So it's like, hey, we have this giant ball, but it's an orb of elemental energy, and we have to go whack NPCs with it. And they're like, but it's a beach ball. I'm like, no, it's an orb of elemental energy. So there was a bit of an argument, but then as soon as they were like, oh, I get to throw this at people, they were like, this is the orb of elemental energy!
And then there's immediate buy-in once it becomes fun.
Yep.
So guys, this is our first time losing signal during one of these. So we're trying to put it in the can and record it so we're not wasting our time here, so we can at least get something out to the channel. We will be... kids event was great. We had a blast. And expect the kids event from last year, NEPA's kids event, Northeastern Pennsylvania, their chapter's kids event is our next episode chronologically on the channel. So check that out next. And they actually have their kids event at the end of this month of July. 26th and 27th and 28th is the weekend of their kids event. I'll be there again shooting another episode so we can have kind of a chronological, you know, a good feel over the years and seeing the kids events develop. And I think that based on the success of our kids event here this year, that we're going to definitely at least run one, if not two, next year. Because I think it was worth doing, and I want to do it again. So I'm looking forward to it. Again, we are recording this, and we've never done that before, so it's a couple more widgets down in the back end that we have to take into account. So while we are trying to set up this next thing, I'm going to show you a really cool little clip of the kids event. This is just one of our little dronies that we caught this weekend. Why aren't you playing now?
Everything's broken!
Oh, everything's breaking. Okay, we're going to try that one more time. There we
There
go.
we go.
Oh, wow. Look at that. It's
The internet is struggling.
This isn't even in the internet. This is just my computer. This is interesting. So, yeah, so this is our cool little shot of our kids event. This is the culmination. Some of the kiddos had to go home a little bit earlier.
Yeah.
It was a hot day, and we did have some curveballs thrown at us during the event.
Yep.
But we got through them all, and we had a safe and entertaining time with all the kiddos, and some really cool footage and some really cool photos to show you guys over the next season or so.
Yeah.
So it was a pleasure, and I want to thank all of the parents and volunteers that came out to make the first kids event in Tennessee such a success. It was great. I know that we made some memories that will last quite a long time, and it was very much our pleasure to host you all, and can't wait to see you guys come back. Very, very, very rewarding.
Yeah.
Of an experience.
Yeah. Had a player say that their inner child was happy just NPCing for the kids, and that's very much, I think, a very shared feeling. Is like, if I had had this when I was a kid, it would have been amazing. And so getting to just like play a game with kids that, you know, are just there to have fun, and there's not as much stuff bogging them down as you have with adults that have like a lot of drama going on and everything in a game, was very, very nice. And man, you know what? Players of LARPs, you need to get your butts in gear when a mod is happening, because those kids were running. As soon as like a mod was happening, they were like, we're going now. There was no waiting around.
LARP time ain't nothing to those kids.
Nothing.
They're like anti-LARP time. They will make things go earlier and faster than they normally do. So again, we're going to revisit and probably shoot 1 or 2 more live streams at this location, and then look at moving the studio to a cooler place and a more internet connectivity place.
Yes.
Because we want to make sure that we're giving the best connectivity and the best show that we possibly can to you guys. So can't wait to do that. Moving forward, we have some of our Crossroads players. We want to give you some updates about the next 2 events that are coming up in Crossroads.
Yes.
Our September event, we are going to... So we're starting to incorporate a special thing every Friday night of the event, because we're having more and more players showing up, but not quite enough, and certainly not the logistical support to run on Friday night yet. So the rest of this year, we're going to start having things on Friday night, but they won't be an Alliance game. And this is done with the intent of adding more and more game type things as time goes on to those Friday nights. Most of it, and it'll be a couple of years, most of it will be role play only. Yep. For those that want to come early and get into the role play a little bit early. But yeah, that's kind of where we're going with that. So Friday night of our September event, we're going to have a weapon repair evening. It's where we're all going to get out all of the weapons in NPC camp, and you guys can bring your personal weapons too, and we're just going to do a maintenance update on everybody, fix some broken weapons, get them back into rotation, because the kids event took a big chunk of our NPC weapons out.
Yeah, I feel like this year took a big chunk of our NPC weapons. Luckily, the kids event wasn't as detrimental, because a lot of, I mean, all the kids were, you know, had LARPer parents. They brought weapons, which helped, because then we'd have to be like, this sword should not be in the hands of a child. Put it away. But this whole year has been like the breaking point for a lot of our weapons lifespan. Yeah. And it's starting to show in the pile of discarded weapons in NPC camp. Yeah,
there's our broken pile is starting to catch up to our working pile, and that's not great. So we're going to have a weapon redo night on the September Friday. And then for our closer, like we said last live stream, we're having our dress-up night. We're having a ball. Yep. And during that ball, you are encouraged to dress up, dress froofy, or just show up as you are. But it will be an in-game role-play type of thing, but it's not going to be Alliance. So our good friend Dale is having his HEMA knighting ceremony that night. So we're actually going to have a live HEMA tournament that takes place on our site that Friday night that we'll be shooting and you guys can check out. And these guys, it's a more physical version of what we do. It's actual sword fighting, so you're going to see some cool stuff. And most of those HEMA guys end up playing the game anyway, so they're super cool, and it's a way that we can help out other organizations, just kind of get the LARP zeitgeist growing and expanding.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, boy, did me and a couple staff members take a quantum leap these past weeks or what. So we went to Drachenfest US. And wow, what an experience. India unfortunately couldn't make it this year, but I went with Dan and Josh and Lawrence from Crossroads all went. Lawrence was a referee, and the other three of us were players. David from Atlanta also made it. Unfortunately, he had to go home early. That was the week of that really, really heavy heat wave in the Northeast, and we were dead in the center of it. So it was a little too hot for a bunch of folks that went home. But wow, what an experience. I mean, I think we're going to be talking about it quite a bit this year. Yeah. So get ready.
There's one thing we don't know how to do, it's shut up.
Yeah. So when I'm speaking about reaching out to other LARPs and trying to build this LARP zeitgeist, Drachenfest is that in manifest. It is a gigantic LARP mixer. I don't know how better to describe it. We'll try over the next year in multitudes of different ways. But just to give you a quick kind of overview of what Drachenfest US is. So they had about 950 players or so this year, almost 1,000. Again, I don't know the exact numbers because there were so many people there. That I wasn't there counting, and I can often do that at the events that I go to. So it was by far the biggest LARP event I have ever been to. So you had the player base broken up into teams, camps, if you will. So you had blue camp, best camp, silver, shadow, red, green, and the bazaar, which is like everybody else in the city. And I have to say, the 4 days of the game being on and the 3 days of lead up to the game, an amazing experience, a transcendent, changing experience. I've had a lot of things expanded to me just seeing the scale of this game, and I am so incredibly impressed with their operational talent. Because they handled things that we as game runners have to handle on the regular, but at such a bigger scale. And they made some really hard decisions on the back end of cutting content for safety. And that is a really difficult call to make, because there's always going to be somebody who says, it wasn't that bad. You should have let me play my game. And I know that there were people who really wanted to do certain things that were restricted during that game because of the heat. And I can't wait to see them next year come out and do that. But there were some decisions made that were good as far as backing people off and making sure they kept everybody safe, because that's the number one thing. So it was one of the safest run LARPs I've ever seen, even though there were so many people there and so many. It wasn't incident free, because you have that many people, and that's just the math of people is there's going to be something that happens. Even at our scale, we always have our plans, because there's always something that happens per how many people show up. But just the game style. So you have each camp is competing for dragon eggs, and the dragon eggs tell you what the that determines who the winner of the tournament is and who rules the dragon lands for the whole year. And that's the big macro story, right? But the cool thing about Drachenfest is that you're not it scales. It scales so beautifully and so simply that you can go from the scope of game goes from this enormous festival that you know, the dragon eggs determine where you're going, and the avatars are these huge, larger than life, like very, very powerful beings that are walking among you, and all of a sudden that huge game can come right down into, hey, that guy has a cool hat. We should start something because that guy has a hat that looks like mine, and we should like have beef because
only one of us can have a hat.
Only one of us can have that type of hat, and it all works. And you were seeing that, like that was the experience of seeing these huge, grandiose, you know, 100+ person sieges, and then you come right back down to the interpersonal play between, you know, seeing the diplomats. So like every camp had roles that players would play. So the leadership was basically like war master, spy master, diplomat, and they all had different roles and jobs within the camp to keep things moving. But there was always something else that wasn't like what a lot of our LARPs. Wow, somebody actually came live.
Oh
Hi.
my gosh,
you're
there's
like our
somebody
only
here.
live viewer.
Oh, we are up. Oh, heck
so,
yeah.
So you know we're actually going live soon. So I'm not sure how we're going to end up uploading this because some of it is offline, some of it is online. Either way, hi, welcome live viewer. Thanks for jumping on and then jumping off. I think that was Sean. Hi, Sean. So yeah, so you're at Drachenfest and there's this huge battle between these 100+ person camps, and each camp has its own personality and its own culture, and each camp itself is almost as big and complicated as individual chapters within the Alliance, right? For the Alliance players that are watching. So just as much complexity and just as many like logistical footprints into rolling that camp up. And the complexity of the game, the beauty, like I said, of the scope and scaling, how it could be so huge, yet come right down into a focus of the Muffin Man coming by and everybody leaning into, hey, the Muffins Man's here. Do you know the Muffin Man? Hey, I know the Muffin Man. Oh, you know the Muffin Man? And all of that is incorporated and everybody just rolls with it. And the main push that they were putting out at Drachenfest was a notion of playing to lift. And I remember the first 2 days being there and having that told to me and not really getting it. Mm-hmm. Like trying to put together the competitive aspects of the Drachenfest, getting these dragon eggs and things like that, but also this other side of playing to lift and not really knowing what that was until it happened in front of us. And then it's just clicked. And I'll tell you the moment where it happened for me. It was during our first siege of Green Camp. So we go and we siege Green Camp, and we have our battle lines, and they're shooting these amazing siege machines that are cannons that are run by what's that?
Slingshots?
Kind of slingshots, yeah, like surgical tubing. They're firing dodgeballs. It's amazing. Everybody's costume is great. But there was this line fight, right? And you, those of you who LARP, you know that line versus line, peck, 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 peck. Out steps this lady, and she does this really ornate dance, and I'm still getting used to the rules, so you know, I'm just more observing everything, and I'm kind of in the back line, so I couldn't really make much of a difference. And all of a sudden, like I'm noticing people on our side doing like the shoot her, cast her, and I'm like, what the hell? And she flips open these fans and she goes, gust of wind. And that's a spell in the game. But the buy-in to watch like 10, 15 frontline fighters on our team buy into her spell and hurl themselves backwards like she was Sauron just taking a swing with his mace and blowing them back, and they all gave that moment to her. They played to lift her for that one moment, and it changed the trajectory of that battle. One caster doing that one really cool spell, and it just built from there. And I watched people give up their good time, and I've watched people go from, man, I want to win this tournament, to, man, I want to make sure that everybody has a good time at this tournament. So I watched, and if I'm speaking out of turn, I apologize to the Drachenfest powers that be, but I watched Blue Camp throw a fight because they knew it was for the better good of the camp, the safety of everybody. Long and short of it, we were getting sieged by another camp, and they made the decision to proactively, instead of turtling up and holding behind our wall, and Blue Camp had one of the best built walls on site, and guys, the walls were amazing. Blue Camp had this pirate themed wall with an actual bell that they rang to get us all together with. It was beautiful. So I watched them make the decision of actively attacking the siegers so they can force the action of the battle and get it over with sooner, because they were butting up against the hot afternoon coming in. And I know that the heads of the blue team really wanted to win this year, but they made the decision of making it, one, more fun for people, and two, safer. And I just really want to say that I appreciate that hugely, and that was an enormous lesson to myself and the other guys that were playing there. And even in that counterattack that we ran, and we knew that we were going to lose, there was an interesting moment where you had people that were playing to lift, and we were really trying to do that. I went out in that fight wanting to give a good death to somebody. I was effectively trying to play my PC as an NPC. And I saw something that was a little unfortunate, and it was, we had a bunch of people that were into the roleplay fighting, Drachenfest roleplay fighting. Check out the videos that they have on it. We might actually make one someday. Yeah. But it is much more theatric than our Boffer LARP. Our Boffer LARP is very min-maxed, and we're actually trying to get in and get hits on each other. But this is stage combat, so it's very big. It's very extreme, and you're calling each other out, and everything's preparatory. In some cases, if you're really comfortable with the person, you can have a little scrum where there's a bunch of like watch. Give me your right hand. Okay, so there's a game, like if we were to have in-game fisticuffs, there's a game that they play where only doing this, you try to touch each other with your thumbs. Oh. So you're moving your bodies. You're like wrestling, but with one hand only. But this is the only contact, and you're just trying to get a touch on somebody. So it's like an interesting take on a thumb war. So you have that all the way up to guys who are really comfortable with stage combat, actually doing throws with each other and getting really, really close with big swings. So it was really cool that if you weren't necessarily into that, you go as deep into that pool as you want. Right. And they had classes available in the bazaar to learn how to do all this stuff. So you had like a stage fighting guy who went around, he was German and cool as heck. He went around giving people the basics of how to do the stage combat on a very basic level. That is so good for a game that's like, you really need to take your hits, like show that you're taking your hits, is teaching people how to fall safely. Mm-hmm. That's that's a genius. Yeah. So just having like, and the progression system of the game itself, again, we're going to talk for hours about Drachenfest and the plans that we all have for the future of Drachenfest. We're going to be going up there, and I think we're going to be rolling a little deeper next year. I had a blast at Blue Camp. Blue Camp, for those of you who don't know, is the known drinking party camp, sort of. They have the most developed bar, I would say, but they're not the only camp with a bar. I'll make my own bar. I will say, for those of you who are a little uncomfortable with alcohol and LARP, there was not an issue, and here's why. One, nobody drunk and fight, ever. nobody ever.
It is incredible
that
that the entire 900+ person game agreed don't drink and fight.
And it was very they were very on top of it. And if it happened, I didn't notice it.
Right.
And also, I'm pretty sure it happened everywhere, but I know because Blue Camp was it was kind of centrally in the camp, and everybody made an appearance there at least once a night. Because I think it's where a lot of in-game intrigue happened. At least that's what I saw. But there was also a senior staff member there and sober late every night. Mm-hmm. And that really put me at ease as far as just the weird stuff that happens when alcohol is involved with people that you don't know everyone's level of experience and safety when it comes to that, and they were incredibly responsible with it, and it was a darn good time. I know that Josh, he loved his experience in Blue Camp. He had just a great time with their crafters. So for the Drachenfest, they in the camp they actually set up a little blacksmith and a little leatherworking. Josh brought all his leatherworking stuff, and they actually made a pair of bracers.
And they did a lot of repairs from what I heard too.
Yep.
Like they fixed people's armor.
Yep, and they were
broke.
Yeah, they were fixing rivets on broken armor and helping people out all weekend. And it really added to the immersion of the experience.
Oh yeah.
So, I mean, this was a great learning experience on a lot of different levels, and not everything was perfect, and not everything...
I mean, it's an event, right? No event's going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Especially when you're mixing, LARPers together.
Yeah. So, I think coming from a boffer LARP background, I had some challenges. One, really understanding the play to lift until I saw it happen. Also, some of the social issues that I think I brought by myself, but even then, the downsides here had value, and that's something that's kind of, if you have a bad time at a LARP, a lot of the times it's kind of your fault. Yeah. I've seen it tons of times, and I've done it a few times where you bring a bad mood to the game, and the game, you want it to help, and it doesn't, because you got to bring good to the game to get it. And I know that I had some challenges, so I wanted to reach out to more other online creators like us, and I had a very, very good interaction with the door guards of Blue Camp. They had a little blog webcast that they did
cool.
that I watched, and that's one of the reasons why I went to Blue Camp, because these guys talked it up a whole bunch. So they had not only were they the cannoneers for the Blue Camp, so they were always with the cannon, doing the load fire things, but they had little skits at the door that they would do with people, and they were just really lively, good guys. And then I had some not really positive interactions that made me, I don't know, sometimes I can come across... And I know that this is not the easiest looking person to come up to you, especially if you're a little younger. But I approached another content creator, and it didn't go great. So that kind of I didn't even try to go see Raquel at all, even though we were on the Padilla video together, and that's pretty much the only reason why I think anybody brought me there anyway. But yeah, the negative reaction kind of knocked the ankles out from under me, as far as I had a negative impact on that guy's time, and I feel like he had felt pressured to be falsely open to collaboration, and there was a little bit of Mean Girl type stuff. And man, I know when you're into LARP and you have one style of LARP that is your style, and you everybody else, especially people that come in from outside styles, especially those that have a reputation. So I'm not really there's no beef with the kid at all, but I really wish that was a better interaction. because that day just got me in my own head, and I got very self-conscious. So I just kind of backed off and went into observe mode. And I will say to all the senior folks at Drachenfest that went out of their way to come and say hey to me, that was really cool. And it was an interesting thing to see from my point of view in the camp, being nobody, essentially, but seeing everybody react to all the people that were people coming up to talk to me. So I think things kind of smoothed out as the week went on, but I didn't want to have a negative impact. And I saw Raquel 3 times. Opening ceremonies, closing ceremonies, and at lunch once. And I got within like 50 feet. I know I sound like a fucking creep right now. But like I got within 50 feet and she was having a conversation that had a lot of hands in it. Oh. So I didn't know, 1, I knew she was obviously in a conversation, didn't want to break into that. 2, I didn't know if like she was dealing with in-game, out-of-game drama or whatever, and I know it's her 1-year show. So I didn't want to be the guy who's, hey, blah, 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 do you know who I am? Blah, blah, blah. So I'm hoping that hopefully in a more controlled environment, I'd love to have a couple of conversations with her. I know that we've said that before. Yeah. But I really regret not reaching out more and not being more outgoing. But those are my failings. And that's one of the things about Drachenfest, that I didn't win every time. I failed as a player a lot. There were sieges that we didn't win. There were sieges that came to us that we lost. And that loss had a negative feeling. I had a bad feeling when we lost. I had a bad feeling when blue team didn't win, when we didn't get didn't win the final tally. But the happiness I felt for silver team that did win outweighed it. And the failings that I had were my own. And if it wasn't for Drachenfest giving me the chance to fail, I wouldn't have, like, something that Drachenfest showed me. I have been hiding behind the cameras. When I go to a site and I get nervous, I go behind the camera. I start working behind the camera, and that creates a barrier where I feel safe. Because I know, like, we're here being internet, but like, we're people too, and you know, when you get mean girled enough, it you know, like, you can tell when somebody's introduced to you and they don't really care about like track you at all. Yeah. And a lot of that happened, and one, that's great for the ego to, you know, tamp things down. I at the last thing I want to be is the guy walking around site going, "Don't you know who I am?" But those ranges of emotions you don't get a lot of places, and they're becoming more and more rare because the negative emotions are seen as something we want to get away from. But to experience those as your character and to let some of that bleed through into yourself can show you a little something about yourself. And it definitely did for me this weekend. So the downside was you know, some self-reflection that I find incredibly valuable. And the culture of Drachenfest is something that has legs. Like, it is going to last for a long time, folks, and it has the same structure as the German Drachenfest that you guys can find videos aplenty.
Yeah, thousands of people playing the same game.
Yeah, like they have 10,000 person games out there, and this has the site to get that. It takes place on the Penzig site, which has a 10,000 person gathering on it multiple times a year. So the infrastructure is there, so this place can just keep on growing. And the fact that we're going to be a part of that in whatever capacity moving forward, I think is really, really exciting. And I just wanted to thank Dan and Sam for bringing me out there and Lawrence for convincing me to actually do it. But without their help, I wouldn't have been able to, because this doesn't what we do right now doesn't afford me the ability financially to do things like that. Every visit that we do is either fed by the Patreon or whatever we can scrap together.
Yeah.
So to do something like this and to have a bigger entity reach down and pull us up is really nice, and it's a nice feeling, and it really makes these past couple of years of work feel better.
Yeah.
Because it shows that people are listening and people are noticing, and people feel the same way. And one of the ways that they feel is they're really tired of all these silos. And the cool thing among the pile of cool things at Drachenfest is you can take your game's character and show up to the Dragonlands with it. You have to rewrite it for their really, really simple rule set.
Yeah, their character cards are like this big.
Yeah. And their rule book is like 30 pages.
So easy.
And there aren't rules holds. There is much more referee interaction, so there's a lot more, if you're a Alliance player, marshals. But even then, they're meant to drive gameplay and to help. So Lawrence was Blue Camp's senior referee.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that he was sitting there going, you got hit, you didn't get hit. His job was effectively, as far as I can understand it, was to help other camps screw with us in a gamified way. So he was their contact when they wanted us to come up and say, hey, we want to do a siege in 2 hours, or hey, we want to try to poison your alchemy plants, or we want to sabotage this, or do whatever. They would go through him. So that's what each camp's senior ref kind of did. And it was really cool to see, because people would just kind of go with something. And the cool interaction with the hats that I brought up, that happened between me and a guy in Red Camp. I now have a purple hat and he has a red hat, because we traded hats out of game because it matched his outfit better, and well, I don't really need a red hat. So yeah, just those little things. And man, I'm going to be talking this stuff up, especially once we get live streams that actually go live.
Yeah, it worked for 5 minutes and then stopped, which is why we still have a recording going.
Yeah.
Yay.
So yeah, guys, Drachenfest is something different, and I will say that something that the Alliance should think on before going to Drachenfest is something that I had to deal with. There is a slightly negative tinge to boffer LARPs in Drachenfest. Now, at Drachenfest, like we said, their style is very, very theatrical and over the top, and it was evident the people that brought boffer LARP to Drachenfest, because they won every time. Every time. Every time. It's not really the point. So while, and I had a conversation with one of the up and ups of like, should we, like, I know how to do that, but that's not what we're supposed to be doing here. We should play their game, not bring our game to them. So I'm going to be saying this on the road when I visit all the Alliance chapters. I challenge you guys to bring the Alliance's costuming and role play to Drachenfest, because I know that the Alliance can show out at this place and really impress people. And the thing about Drachenfest is everybody convenes and then everybody goes home. And if we can show out, especially the aces in the Alliance, I'm looking at some of you in the Midwest. It's a little bit of a travel, but it is certainly worth it. And I know that I'm going to be bringing all the infrastructure and focus that Crossroads can bear for 1 week a year, take it up to Drachenfest, and show off my game via the game that I bring to Drachenfest. I'm not pushing our rule set, I'm pushing our culture, because if you guys ever showed up to a live Crossroads game, you know the 3 rules of Crossroads, right? Play to lift, is the closest thing to Rule 3 that I've ever seen said better than Rule 3.
Yeah.
Play to lift is so concise, and it melds with Rule 3 damn near perfectly. And to see it at that scale, done at that scale, to see a 600-person end battle, and to see 300 people pull back, and every single one of them going duel for like 4 people who wanted to like solo fight right in the middle of everybody, and everybody just backed off and let it happen. Those moments, having that many people on the battlefield and seeing a whole flank crash, and then being on a crashing flank that came through, and knowing and like having the confusion of a large-scale battle where you have to look for your banner to even know where your team even is, because there's so many people out there. Guys, it is something different, and I think that I know that Drachenfest US is going to do what Drachenfest Germany did in Germany. It's going to raise the bar for LARPs nationwide if we let them. And I know it's going to work. And I know that they are going to make this art form change in the next decade more than it has in the past 20. And I'm so happy to be here for it, and I'm very, very excited to be here for it. Mm-hmm. And I hope that we can run a live stream that people could actually hear us shout to the heavens how cool that experience was. Now, we love our Alliance games, and I will continue to jump out there and shoot your games and have a blast doing it. Mm-hmm. But these are the big leagues. The Alliance cannot support a 900-person game. Nope. It's too complex. Yeah. It just is. And that's okay. But to have this place that isn't trying to kill us, that is saying your game is cool too, come join us with this simple game so we can just get all the LARPers together in one place, one time a year, to have a damn good time and to share our ideas. The amount of ideas that I got, and I always get ideas everywhere we go. Yeah. But the amount of simple things that just work that we're going to bring right back to all of our games and the way that we play, it's already raising the bar, guys. And I cannot wait to share with each and every one of you. Mm-hmm. I will have access to a discount code this year, and we have all of the wonderful merchandise and things that we can shoot to. Again, if this was live, you guys would love the fact that we have a kid's size t-shirt now.
People were asking for. I did it.
Yay, kids t-shirt. Yay.
There will be more. It's just the first one. The Goblin Invasion one.
Yeah, and again, this live stream, it did not go the way that we wanted it to. That's okay. That's live events, and just like any LARP event that happens, nothing goes perfectly. It's how you deal with the curveballs that get thrown your way. And I enjoy doing this stuff with you, and I can't wait to see what we do in the future, and especially once you go to Drachenfest next year.
I'm so excited. I got to hear all about it from Dan, from you. I read Lawrence's thoughts about it. And I think like everything that I've heard about Drachenfest, I think the biggest thing, the thing I'm most excited about is the fact that you can lose. And I feel like, this might be just me being bitter, I feel like it's a very important lesson for LARPers, is remember how you lose, how you act when you lose. No. Losing in the Alliance is very rare. Just like losing in D&D is often very rare because it's about you as a part of a story against something else. And sometimes I feel like people need to be reminded how to gracefully lose a situation. I feel like Drachenfest is a great place to go learn how to lose.
Yes.
Because you won't win everything.
You can't.
You can't.
You can't. The balance of that game and the vulnerability that you feel in that game, but also the safety of knowing that, like for instance, out of our team, Dan got killed, right? Dan, so you can get dropped, and then you can like crawl off and find a healer, or somebody can you and send you to a place called Limbus.
Oh, he told me about it. It sounds so cool.
Yes, it does sound really
sounds
cool.
so cool.
It is a bit of a mystery.
Yes.
But all he said to me when he came back was, "Dude, get killed." So I didn't make it there this time. I hope to make it there next time. Blue Camp did win the Limbus competition. They had the most people killed and sent to Limbus.
Hey, so you can even win by losing, guys.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a transcendent experience, and I cannot wait. Again, I'm sold. You know, I'm hoping to be involved in a lot of different levels at this wonderful gathering of some of the best people that I have ever seen do this. And before we leave you, I'll give you guys another anecdote, and you guys can kind of, I think some of you will know, and others will have to find out. Ooh. So, of the avatars of Drachenfest, one of them was actually at my very first LARP game as a player. They played a caster in the Old School Alliance in 2002. Or no, 2001. This was late 2020. This is in November 2001.
Ooh.
My very first game. And I remember this guy coming through and casting, throwing these spell packets. And until I saw him do that, I didn't really understand how casting would work. And I didn't think it could be cool.
With birdseed packets?
Yeah. Until I saw this guy like jump casting and like hitting people and just being this phenom. And the performer of that avatar pulls me aside before the game starts, and we catch up, like, holy shit, haven't seen you. And they give me this little Easter egg. And he says, when you see my avatar, your character recognizes my character. And they made the secret avatar. They made it a point to come over incognito into what camp was not theirs, to have a little role play with me in game about that storyline and our characters' interactions, and to have one of the leads of this 1,000-person show make a little bit of time for me, who's nobody, was huge. And it was a 5-minute exchange, but it was wonderful. And it didn't, I didn't win Drachenfest because I knew this about the avatar, but it was this cool little slice of story that only me and him had.
Was that a symptom, or not really a symptom, but like a part of the bring your character to Drachenfest?
Yeah.
That's cool.
And to be a dragon mage in the Alliance was his character's goal. So I got to have the interaction in game of, holy shit, you made it. You did it.
You did it.
You did it. And that was cool. That was so awesome. And that's what the mentality is there, is not, look upon me, I'm the blah, is how can I make this the best possible time for somebody else? And it was beautiful, really. So you're going to be hearing a lot more Play to Lift from us, and you're going to be hearing a whole bunch about Drachenfest from us. I think this rounds us up to around an hour. I think we can cut a few things together and hopefully have it uploaded later on tonight. I don't know.
Hopefully, I should be able to do that when I get to stable internet. Yeah.
You got to get it off of this though, because that's where it's saved.
Yeah. But it's okay. It's not that big of a file compared to the other files that we work with on a daily basis.
Yep. Well, guys, it certainly didn't go perfectly, and we apologize for our internet connection of Asheville going kaput. We will try to rectify the situation for our next live stream. But you have anything else to throw out to us? Check out our Patreon. Check out our Patreon. It certainly helps us, guys. Patreon has been keeping us afloat. It was the big reason why the kids event was handled so well, and how we were able to handle some of the curveballs that happened at the kids event. Without that buffer, we would have had a harder time dealing with some of the things that didn't quite go the way we needed them to go. So again, that Patreon is making the difference of us either maintaining or growing, and it's keeping us in the growth category. I'm super excited to see what's going on. Keep your eyes open. We should be announcing our pre-registration opening before next live stream or during next live stream.
Yeah, probably during next live stream. That's about a month out. Additionally, to the Patreon, if you don't want to subscribe to a monthly Patreon, I do have a wish list I will be posting in the description of this video. During the kids event, there was a lot of things that I realized that NPC camp is skint on, namely belts and pouches. Two of the most important things for an NPC to have. Somewhere to put loot and something to hold the loot bag. So our wish list does have some belt pouches and some belts for us to restock that. So I'll be sharing that in the description here. Donate off of that list, send me the receipt, get some goblin stamps.
Awesome.
And also, you know, let your NPCs carry loot for you. Very important.
Yeah, that is pretty important.
Yeah.
So guys, thanks for checking this not live stream out. We hope that we can cut it together to something that is concise and makes some sort of sense. It was a blast talking to you guys. Again, curveballs happen, and live is live. So until next time, we want to say thank you and bye.
Bye.